everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerosity. And man, do I have another fun interview for you guys. You're going to love this. Absolutely love it. It's with Mike Mostert of the band In Theory. Probably one of the best kept secrets in America. This guy is phenomenal. And I'm just only recently discovering them. So I know people think I know everything about music, but I don't. I'm just a fan like you guys. But man, when I was turned on to In Theory with their new single, which is a Zeppelin song, which you're going to absolutely love, and it's called "Since I've Been Loving You," you are going to be blown away. I'm going to make a bold statement. I think these guys, because it has Eric Gales with them, and you know Eric Gales, one of the most amazing blues artists out there. I put him up there with Joe Bonamassa, among others. So Eric is with Mike and the band here, and they're doing Zeppelin better than Zeppelin. There, I said it. I stand by it. I love Jimmy Page. I want to interview Jimmy Page sometime, but these guys knocked it way out of the park, and I'm not exaggerating. If you're going to access this interview through the website, I'll have the video embedded there so you can check it out for yourself. If you're listening to this from the YouTube channel or from a podcast, go to boomerosity.com, look up Mike Mostert, and go to that page, and you'll see the video there. And call me a liar then if I'm wrong about this. But this is amazing. I have a great chat. We chat about everything. We talk about a lot about Alice Cooper, believe it or not. You want to know what it was about? You got to listen to the interview. So while you're at it, would you please hit like, and would you please hit subscribe? Not going to cost you a dime, but it sure helps us out a lot. And share this with your friends, especially friends who love good old rock and roll the way it should be played. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I really do hope and pray are many more interviews to come with Mike Mostert of In Theory. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerosity. Take care.
How about
There you
that?
are.
Hey, how you doing, Randy?
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
I like the background.
I thought you might. I was taking just a wild shot at it.
You guessed right.
Well, I hope you're not missing the album covers. So, where
I
are you
was wondering
clicking
where
in
they
from?
left.
Yeah, I
I was
snuck
going,
in
wow,
and
we
got
sold a whole bunch of them. Oh, they're at your place.
them. Yeah. So now I got to give them all away. So,
That's
where are
right.
you clicking in from?
I'm clicking in from Muscle Shoals.
Oh, all right. Wow.
Don't mind me. It's
Um,
a coffee morning or afternoon for me.
That's right. Well, I've got my unsweet tea here in my official Boomerosity glass. So, but anyway, I've yet to make it to Muscle Shoals. I want to, and I interviewed the guy over Fame Studios before he died, Doug Hall.
Yeah. No, am I blanking on his name? I know it's Rodney Hall, Jerry Hall. Jerry.
Yeah,
Jerry? Yeah.
yeah. Now I had it in my head, and then it completely. Yeah, I think you're right. Anyway, I interviewed him when he came out with his book, and then he died, a year or so later. But I want to go down there and tour both studios, because that's just so much musical history there
Well,
and all that. So
yeah, I think, I'm not sure if you saw the documentary, but it's a
yeah,
bit bigger than that. There's obviously Fame, which
right. Well,
um,
that's the guy I talked to was
yeah.
over
So
Fame. Yeah.
he's the one who started it all here, and then obviously they broke off with him, the Swampers, and they started Muscle Shoals Sound, and then
Mm-hmm.
Muscle Shoals Sound they moved down to another place which now is called Cypress Moon, but
Oh,
only it was only 3 years into where they had the famous Jackson Highway or so. They
yeah,
moved to the
yeah.
other place. They were there for another 8 years or so. People seem to think they were only at Muscle Shoals Sound. So, but the cool thing that's happened here is that there was also a ton of studios here in the 60s and 70s, besides Fame and Muscle Shoals. And they've, reignited or, rebuilt all those. So now you have where I do a lot of my stuff, East Avalon. That owner also, he bought Widget. And on that one, he actually partnered up with Dave Cobb, who's the partner on that, who's done, Chris Stapleton, Rival Sons, and all these folks. That studio was there maybe 3 blocks away from Muscle Shoals Sound. So now that's almost finished. And then maybe about 2 months out of finishing that. Then there's Wishbone, that's open. Of course, Cypress
Wow.
Moon is open. There's oh my God, Heartel. There's Ivy Mansion. Oh my God, there's at least 15 to 20 major studios in a 10-mile radius
Seriously.
now.
I had no
Seriously.
idea. Wow.
So
That's
so
amazing.
literally, I go to my house and say if I'm going to my studio, if I go this one street, I'll hit 3 studios. If I make a right, I go this other way, I'll hit another 3 studios. If I
Oh,
go down
it's
the
like,
block to the water, I will hit the second Muscle Shoals Sound, which is now Cypress Moon. So yeah, I'm
wow.
surrounded by studios.
It's like being on
So,
Music Row in Nashville, huh?
yeah,
So,
well, it's like Music Row. It's interesting because the live scene is not the best here. Um, but the studio scene is probably one of the best I've seen out here. And there's a lot of businesses coming in from Nashville and from Atlanta. And obviously, because of the proximity of Nashville, we're only 2 hours
Mhm.
away, and
Right.
Atlanta is only 2 or 3 hours away. Um, but in Atlanta, it's I'm not sure if you know what, like, say where my parents are. Um, it's the new movie industry, so they have Trilla Studios,
Yeah. Yeah.
and right, so there's a lot more of that industry. But I think it's so cheap here, so you could get a house, a reasonable house, for under 100,000. So a lot of
Wow.
these producers and other studio owners are coming down here, either buying a studio and then B&B, and then they'll rent it out, when they're not here. Um, so it's like a cost-effective way, and then you get the mystique and the magic of Muscle Shoals as well.
Absolutely. Well, I
So
mean, I'm not a musician. I don't even play one on TV, but I'm a business geek, so I like to think of the business end of it. So does it stand to reason then with all those economics you just mentioned that it's cheaper to record in Muscle Shoals than it would be in Nashville?
it probably would. I mean, I know it's definitely cheaper than LA. I know that
Yeah.
much. Which everything is cheaper because originally I came from LA to here. So
Yeah.
yeah, so economically it would be cheaper
Yeah.
in some
Yeah, I
aspects, yeah.
just yeah, I just didn't know, the studio time and such might be, and of course, everybody and their brother has a studio in Nashville too, so
Yeah,
but
like I said, here's kind of interesting because all the studios, Fame and East Avalon, which I mean, there's some I know I'm forgetting a bunch of them. So I know is Jason Isbell, he's making one that's also right around the block, his company. Um,
I'll be darned.
but they're always booked. They're all booked all the time, so and I
I
think
even
that's an
remember,
anomaly.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that's an anomaly with today's technology because if you have good gear, most people you can record in your house, right?
Right,
Or your
right.
garage or your bathroom. It's something, if you have, those are pretty good with gear. I mean, like Billie Eilish, right? She did her entire,
Yep,
what, first 2 records, 3 records in her house. So
yep.
that gives you an example. And obviously, and when COVID hit, how many people were recording, their records at the house?
Yep.
Almost
And
everybody,
we all
right?
thought it
So
was weird when Elvis recorded his last one at Graceland, in the jungle room. So,
right.
but it took an
Hmm.
RCA mobile truck to make that happen. So,
Right. True.
but
So yeah, he had a little help, right?
yep, yep. I
So
need to go
that's why I
down
know,
there and
but
spend a couple days, to Muscle Shoals.
Graceland
I
or
just
Muscle,
need
yeah, Muscle Shoals.
both, man. I need to do both. My first concert was Elvis, so
It's so funny. We just did not just, but on one of our legs of our tour, we played Graceland. They have a big,
really,
yeah. It's one of the biggest rooms I played. The stage was huge. Like we were swallowed by the stage. It was just phenomenally way too big. It was huge. So then you have the Elvis Museum and all that in it, but it's a huge rock venue. But people don't equate Graceland
yeah.
with rock shows. And I know I'm going back there just as a spectator with the Alice Cooper. They're playing there, I think, in a couple of months, and I've been doing a lot of work with the Alice Cooper camp. So I'm going to go see them in the Graceland.
Yeah, yeah. Well, your
Um,
drummer, right,
Yeah,
is
well, yeah, with Glenn Sobel, he did the track that's right behind him. But I've been doing a lot of work with, I'm not sure if you know Tommy Henriksen.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so Tommy's
The Hollywood vampires, right?
yeah, Hollywood
Yeah.
Vampire, and he's the MD for Alice Cooper, and of course he has his own
Ah, I
band,
didn't know
Crossbone
that.
Scully.
Yeah.
But our single after this one is the one that Tommy and I worked, we collaborated on it, and that one came out great. It sounds like if Aerosmith at Mother Lang had a baby in 2025. That's what it sounds like.
Wow.
And Tommy played a huge part. He's actually in our video on that, and yeah. So there's
Very
some
cool.
things
I'm a
coming.
big Alice Cooper fan. Growing up in Phoenix, you know, it everybody swore they knew him or their sister dated him or,
All right.
saw him passed out drunk somewhere, and none of it was true, But I've interviewed him a couple times. He's a super nice guy. I love the guy. He's great.
What's it was really what do you want to call it, fate, or how life works, So I've known Tommy for quite a long time, and we worked on and off. I mean, when I was like 14, 15 years old, I was opening up for his band on Long Island, New York. And then time goes by, and then we're in music college, time goes by, and then we end up in California, we end up writing way back, not early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. And then I didn't see him, and then people were trying to connect us. Um, that was only recently, but in the interim, um, we were being featured on Alice Cooper's show. So we were on Alice's Attic, and then on his and then I think he has a new show, right? Or is Alice's Attic his new one? But we've been featured on both shows, and because Alice was supportive of us, we were able to hit having two top 10 singles on Media Base on active and classic rock,
Hmm.
strictly because of Alice's support. And the funny thing, then some can't, how this you get connected with people. And a friend of mine said, "Oh yeah, I'm a big Alice Cooper fan." I said, "Oh yeah, my friend Tommy plays with them." I said, "Tell him hello." And then this person tried to connect us for almost a year. I was busy, and Tommy, and all of a sudden they said, "Come out to California." And I went to. This is pretty recent, like in August, September. Now you have to understand, Tommy didn't know that we were on the Alice show,
Really?
and we've been,
Wow.
and Alice has been supporting us. So I get to the hotel, and sure enough, Tommy runs into this person around 7 o'clock, getting coffee. So I get a call. I told Tommy you were here. He wants to meet you at like 8 in the morning. So I do what I did now. Like, I just incognito run down, and it was such a special moment. I mean, both of us were just so happy to see each other after all this time, and we talked, and within like 20 minutes, we're like, we got to do something together. And then the next day, and then I saw Alice that night and hung out with the band. And the next day, we did breakfast again. We talked about it a little bit further. And as time was going on, we were thinking about it. Then I kept getting invited to Alice shows, and then I would talk to Tom a little bit more. We'd get on the phone, and so we said, okay, we picked a song I thought would be perfect. And but at that show in Cali, so it was the second show. Um, he hooked me up. I said, I never met Alice. He goes, oh, I'll hook you up. I go for the meet and greet. And this person I go to said, they paid $500 to go to the meet and greet.
I
So
heard it
we're
was
in the line.
7, but
It could be. Maybe
could
we got a
maybe
discount.
different
But
cities, it's different prices.
right. So Tommy, hooked me up, and I was in line, and this person was, well, just go ahead of me. I said, no, but I knew that this person knows Alice quite well, and knows Alice's assistant, and his name is Kyler
Hmm.
Clark.
Yep.
And it was in one of those moments, and I walked back. I said, no, go walk with me, because you can introduce me to these people. I just don't know them. And I turn the corner, and I see Alice, and I said, "Hey, all I want to do is like thank you for playing us. He's played 2 songs, and he's just been very supportive." And then this guy Kylo, who's been Alice's assistant for I say about 20, at least 20 years. He's Alice's personal assistant and photographer. Um, he asked a question. He goes, "Is that Mike Mostert?" And he goes, yeah, that's Mike. He goes, "Oh my God!" And he was almost like, I don't say crying, but he was definitely he got emotional. He goes, "Oh my God, that's Mike Mostert, right?" And turns out I was his boss for 3 years,
Oh, wow.
which is kind of right by coincidence. And then he goes to Alice. He goes, "Alice, that's my old boss." And then he goes, "I can't believe my two bosses are here." And it went from Alice being very cordial and nice as he always is to he had the biggest grin. And he's telling, "Get in the picture with us. You got to get in the picture with your bosses." And so it was really great to connect with Kyler again after all these years. Like I said, I was his boss, and then my thought back is right away like, thank God I wasn't an ass when I was his boss. And so it was great to connect with him after all these years. And then I was telling Alice that I was working with Tommy and all this stuff, um, and again he was wanting to let me know. He goes, Alice, Alice, because Tommy is the glue of the vampires and Cooper. He goes, he's a good guy, and Alice is such a kind guy. At that same meeting, he goes, "Well, did you get to see Tommy? Do you need passes? Do you need?" I said, "No, no, I saw Tommy for breakfast. I'm good." But the fact that it was really cool, and ever since then, yeah, I don't know. I've been to 6, 7 shows, maybe 7 shows. I just saw them 4 days ago. Yeah,
Wow.
maybe 4 days. They played in Huntsville. I
Oh,
literally,
wow.
yeah, I don't know. What it was, oh yeah, I did a road tour, and then I also, I also take care of my parents. They have serious health issues, so
Hmm.
um,
I do too. I take care of my dad.
so
So,
my dad is has dementia and he's blind
same here.
and my so as with dementia you just don't know. I call it like a crack-a-jack box. You just don't know what prize you're gonna get each night, because of
Yep.
sundown syndrome. So
Yep.
when I'm there, it's literally you're 24/7 of no sleep, and you're caretaking for two people who can't take care of themselves. And so I literally went from that, came back, and then next day, went to the Alice show. Um, so yeah, that was good. Oh, did I lose you? Am I
Yeah.
still here?
I see you. I hear you. Can you hear me?
Uh, I can hear you.
Okay.
There I am.
Okay. I think
So
our connection
yeah, so
is
I
a
just
little
saw Alice.
flaky with Zoom. So,
Yeah, so I just saw Alice and Tommy and Glenn, and today I'm a little. I'm still on my coffee. I did a session until I got done about 5 in the morning this morning. So
ooh, wow. Well,
um,
I'm flattered that you still want to do the interview. So
so
I
I'm
appreciate
trying.
that.
I'll try to be as coherent as possible, and I'll
Well,
have my
so will
extra.
I.
I'll have my extra radio voice, so a little scratchy.
Just be
Um,
you. Just be you,
so,
man.
but
Well, it's funny. I
kind
mean, I grew up as an Alice Cooper fan, and because I grew up in Phoenix, but I didn't see him in concert until 5 or 6 years ago for the first time. And then since then, I've
of,
seen him like 5 or 6 times. So,
I'm
big
almost in the
fan of
same boat.
his.
Yeah,
So,
and yeah, I'm me too. My first show live with them was September. It was September of last year, and
wow,
now it's
very
just
cool.
been you know. And now, like I said, I've been working with Tommy, been working with Glenn. Yeah,
Well, very cool. Very cool. Well, I love this new single you've done, man, and bringing in Eric Gales. Holy crap. I mean,
yeah.
you guys just tear it up, man. Tell me the story. What led you guys to get together and what
That's
made you settle on that song and all of that? I want to hear it all.
well. I'm glad you have time. You have to have like like an 8 hour show per story. You'll notice everything around me. There's a long story, and it's never a straight path to things. But it's a story. So nonetheless, so So with Eric, he's been always like one of my hero guitar players, as he is to many people. He's
Hmm.
one of the best and stuff to me. And I'm not sure if you know who Victor Wooten is,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bassist.
I know who he is. Yeah.
All right, so Victor is a family friend, and what happened was I saw that Eric was playing at his camp. It was last year, and I called up Victor. I said, I've always wanted to play with Eric. Can I come up to the camp? And people are paying, whatever. Same thing. I'm just using the same round number, $500 to play with them for a minute or whatever, 3 minutes.
Right.
And so I said, but he goes, come on up. I'll make sure I'll introduce you and make sure you play with them. I'm like, okay, it's cool. Then I looked at the date, but unfortunately I was taking care of my parents. So I couldn't do it. So I was in Georgia, and by again, fate or chance or the gods of music or whatever you want to call it, it was maybe 3 weeks later, and then Eric happened to be playing right by my parents' house.
Wow.
So,
Cool.
so I reached out to Eric. I said, "Victor's been trying to connect us. Do you want to meet? You know, can we meet? And he goes, yeah, come down. My sound check's at this time. Let's see how we vibe, and if we vibe, let's do something." So we talked guitar for a little bit. And originally, I think I was supposed to just play like sound check and play for a little bit. And he just looks at me and goes, let's just do something at my place. Because I have a studio in North Carolina. Come to my place. And there's part of me, it's like, was he being polite or this is really cool, So I had both thoughts.
Hmm.
So I called Eric maybe first week of December. I said, okay, you said you want to do something. What would you like to do? He goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, let's record together. He was like, yeah, let's do it. And literally goes, let me get you a date. Let me figure it out. And then he gave me a date. And I remember it was on a Sunday prior that he had the next Saturday open. So I had no song in mind. I had nothing in mind. And one of my daily practice routines, I practice the songs on YouTube. I just have a practicing thing and one of them is that song "Since I've Been Loving You," but it's the version by Europe. So they do it in key of B instead of key of C. They play it with the orchestra, and it is, and so I practiced that. So I thought about, oh, that would be a cool song to do with him. And I also thought it would work from a pragmatic standpoint because when Zeppelin does it, Zeppelin's all over the place, with the fluctuations of speed and and,
Hmm.
and their mood. So I said, okay, this arrangement will work because they're doing it with the orchestra. So it's got to be, you can line it up if you're going to,
Precise. Yeah.
bring
Yeah.
people in. Right. If I have to grid things and stuff. And sure enough, we loaded in and we're trying to match up the click track to it. And even their version is all over the place.
Mm.
And unfortunately, the singer sang his track to the original one that we thought would line up, couldn't use it. And then I originally had a different bass player and different drummer. And while the tracks were and I'm like, I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm playing with Eric. It's got to be good is not good. I mean, if it's not great, I mean, I just know I wouldn't be happy. And knowing Eric, if you see Eric on at sound check, you would understand. I know he wouldn't be happy. So I I just called up Glenn, from the Vampires, and it was a Tuesday at 10 o'clock. I said, Glenn, can you play drums on this? I'm doing this thing with Gales, and explain my whole concept, the arrangement, and he goes, let me see if I can find an engineer. Let me try to find a tech. So while I'm on the phone with him, he's texting people, and by 11 o'clock that night, he got an engineer, he got a tech, got everything set up. So that Thursday, he cut the drums. And then I had to redo the bass. And sure enough, I brought in Jimbo Hart, who's from Jason Isbell's band,
Hmm.
and just the timing worked out. No, it was, yeah. So that Thursday night, I was going to have Jimbo play with Glenn, and so before they got Jet Tracks, I had Clayton Ivy. He's the original Swamper and Fame Gang guy. So all we had was like a scratch drum, scratch bass, Tony's vocals, which I made him redo. He cut those vocals one take in 1 hour, which they came out amazing.
Wow.
And I mean, it's one of the best vocal performances I've heard in a long
Mm-hmm.
time. But he did that in an hour. He killed it. And yeah, so I had Clayton, Tony, and a scratch track. Then I had Glenn play to that. Then I said, all right, let me bring Jimbo in. And sure enough, Jimbo had COVID.
Oh.
So so while Jimbo is literally a half a mile from the studio, we did it the same way I did with Glenn. We set up videos so they could see him. And then there's an app called Audio Movers.
No,
So
I hadn't
in
heard of
his
that.
studio, if you run this link for Audio Movers, I get to hear him in real time in my speakers in my studio. So
Wow.
I can watch him and hear him as if he's in my studio. So I can like, no, do this, do that, do that. And that's how we cut
My
the
goodness.
bass. The very next afternoon, I fly out to Charlotte, drive down to Greensboro, and that Saturday, I'm there at the Eric studio, and Eric comes in there. I call it. It's like a jumpsuit. He's got his jumpsuit. He's got his gold. I call it the gold Flavor Flav thing. He's got everything's matching. And he comes in. He gives me a bear hug, and then cool. It was a very relaxed vibe, and I started going over what my direction was going to be for the song, what I want him to do, and he's taking it in. Okay, you know. And then as soon as he takes, I call it the jumpsuit off, and he straps on the guitar. He's the most serious guy I've ever met in my life. He went from being, um, the guy hugging me to being dead serious.
Down to
And it
business.
was, yeah. But I took that as, all positive, that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he wanted to bring his A game, to this thing. And he cared enough about my music that he wanted to make it as best that he can do and bring out the best of me. And same thing with him. I felt I was challenging him because when you have different perspectives, I think that's the whole thing of the collaboration. So you're pushing people outside note choices they normally wouldn't make, and vice versa. But like I said, there was some things where I see how tough he was on himself. He would do like a lead, like and hit a note, and he would literally just like scream at himself. He would be so upset at himself, but he kept going. But every time that he didn't think he was up to snuff, he was really mad. And then there was a few times when I was playing, and he goes, "Nah, man, your vibrato's too fast. Your vibrato's too slow. Your vibrato's this," and he was just like, just this with his one note, and it's just the most simplest note. I probably had the entire track, and I'm not kidding. Maybe it took me like 20 times, and he's like, "No, no." He even had left the room. I go, "Ah!" I do the note, and he goes, "All I hear from across the room, no." I'm like, "Oh
Hey,
man,
I would just like to play you guys as mistakes, man. So
yeah." I have a lot of video of our mistakes, and like when I listen to it, I wish I would have kept the mistakes because the mistakes it's a different interpretation than what we actually ended up putting on it.
Mhm.
And with Eric, I know he works a lot off of energy, so it was really good. So we're literally 5 feet apart, and he was talking about that from his philosophical stuff, like just remember my energy, Mike. If I'm doing this, do this, and that was one part of it. And one of the other interesting things, that whole intro, but people don't realize the first 28 seconds
Mhm.
until and then it goes off, and then Eric does his thing. But the first 28 seconds is Eric and myself playing in unison, and it sounds like times you can see it when it slips, and we're almost not in unison. But the first 28 seconds is us doing the same exact thing,
Mhm.
and even that lick, it starts off with that lick. And I was telling Eric about that intro. He's like, man, he kept telling me, it's not going to work, man. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I'm like, just trust me, it'll work. So I cut it, or we cut it back and forth. And then I start doing my editing, and he's putting back on his jumpsuit. He's going back out, and then it was edited by the time he was going back to his car, and he listens to it. He goes, man, now I got it. Now I understand the intro. He came back in the room, and this is what blew my mind. So he's a lefty with the guitar strung up lefty.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Can I borrow your guitar?" So remember, I'm a righty. So he played that
Yeah.
whole that whole 28 seconds. He played it a righty lefty, like it was nothing. So he could play lefty lefty, a lefty strung righty. Not a
Wow.
problem for the guitar god, Eric. But yeah, he killed it. And then I was just I was fine tuning as I got back, but there's been some cool experiences since then, because Eric didn't hear the track until the day we made up the pre-save. So we did it as a compound release. So when we did a compound release, it showed up on Eric's page and it shows up on our page. So all of a sudden, Eric was notified the single's coming out, and I get a text from Eric. And this is while I'm at soundcheck, I'm about to play Sellersville Theater in Pennsylvania. And I get a text. He goes, "Is this us?" And at the time, he didn't even hear the track yet. So he didn't even know what was what. And
Wow.
he goes, "Can you send that to me?" And I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Okay." And I send it to him. I do my set at the Sellersville Theater. I get off the set and I get this text from Eric. He goes, "Bro, this is great." He goes, "Man, I'm so proud. This is great." So what a way to be um, greeted off stage, because the Sellersville gig was amazing. We had standing ovations. We sold out that theater. It was amazing. Just that, you have the high of playing. I walk up stage and I see my text. I get that from Eric. I'm like, wow, what a good day musically this has been.
Yeah.
And then he gave me this really nice quote saying, "Mike, it's an honor to play with you." Like, wow, that's cool. I'm saying when one of your idols is telling, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then not even 2 weeks ago, Eric is right by my parents again. He's playing. And I said, "Eric, I said, I'm going to come down to the show." So he hooked me up. He's playing the winery. I was in the first row to the almost parallel to the stage. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'm incognito I thought it was, but I was facing the entire audience, but I'm first row against the brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing his set. And I just put up the video literally 2 days ago. I was hoping the video was going to come up, but what was really cool was um, he stops his set and he tells the people in the audience, he goes, "I see you, Mike Monster." He goes, "I want everybody to know I just released a single with this guy," and he kept saying my name, Mike Monster. And he goes, "This guy is a bad man." So he's telling the Harry Gales fans this. And the fact that he stopped the audience, he goes, "He's a bad man." And I forgot about the other stuff. And then I saw the video. He goes, and he said like maybe 3 or 4 times in a row. He goes, "That guy, Mike Monster." He kept saying my name, Mike Monster. He's amazing. He goes, "He's amazing, amazing, amazing. You have to check him out." I was like, wow, you know.
Man.
Um,
Well, when he's done the guitar duels with Bonamassa and all that, I mean, that puts you in some pretty rarefied air there, Mike. That's amazing.
yeah, and then right after that, I mean, the way he did it was actually for me, it was very emotional. Because I was not expecting how he did it. The fact that he stopped the show, and the fact he was so complimentary, like in the best way possible. Like he's
Yeah.
amazing, and the fact that he repeated over and over. And then after the show, I let him do his thing with his fans, and I talked to him for a little bit. He goes, "Man," he goes, "He's been getting so much reaction and interview. He got so much that he was not expecting. I don't think." Um,
Wow.
so he's all excited, and we did another video like afterwards, and he kept going, "Mike's the man. You gotta listen, Mike's the man. Mike's," it was really cool. So and then we talked about, we got to do this again real soon. So we'll look at how my tours are going and his tours are going, and hopefully we get to do it again. And maybe not an original this time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, heck, I think my take on it, and I'm not saying this to blow smoke up your tail or anything. And this is an honest, as a fan, as a non-musician who listens to a lot of music and has talked to a lot of people. I feel that you and Eric and your band did Zeppelin better than Zeppelin.
I
My opinion,
appreciate that. I appreciate.
because you can tell. I'm reminded of the line from Amadeus where the royalty tells Amadeus, there's too many notes, and he goes, "Well, which ones do you want me to take out?"
Which
The
that's
point
right,
being, there's not too many notes. It's exactly the way it should be,
right,
and so, but you and Eric, the way you guys are in sync, and how you play off of each other. I mean, there's a precision to it that you don't hear in a Zeppelin album. I mean, I mean, I hope I get to interview Jimmy Page someday, and this is not a slight against him, but he's not the cleanest player, but it's he does blues and rock the way it should be done, or a way it should be
right,
done. But to hear you, to hear Eric, to hear others, I mean, Bonamassa, those are some of the people that I could name. Steve Lukather is another.
oh
You
yeah,
guys
Steve's a
hit
beast.
hit it. Oh, he is. I've interviewed him more than I have anybody else. He's a great guy, Lucas. But to hear that, I mean, because you have that precision, it allows there to be much more in there as well. I mean, just all the intricacy of how you guys did it blew me away. And I mean, I've shared it on
Thank you.
my personal YouTube channel a couple times, and latest this morning. And I'm hoping that there's a lot more I can share. Just, whether Eric's with you or not doesn't matter. It obviously adds to it. But I mean, I just love how tight you guys are. How bombastic in a good way. I mean,
Right.
Zeppelin was bombastic. You guys do it, and you do it in a clean, precise, powerful way. And that's that. When I got the link to you guys, it took my breath away. It really did.
Thank you. Yeah, I
So,
think we really made it our own, and I think
mhm,
from every aspect. I mean, the singer on it, Tony Cabino. I mean, he did such
yeah.
an amazing job on it, and so like every time I listen, I can hear something different. I mean, this Glenn Sobel on drums. I mean, if you listen to some of the stuff that is it's so complicated, but he does it with so much like groove and grace, and
Mhm,
I think he would make Bono proud. He's doing like some. There's one part in the song within four measures, he's changing the kick drum pattern, three complete different patterns, but still flowing, and you wouldn't know it until if I point it out. I go, "Hey, I forget where it is. I think it's at the two. It's at the 223 mark, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there." So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, he's doing pa 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 pa, and he's doing da 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 da, four in a row. But it's not like most drummers wouldn't be able to do it without losing the feel of what that song is because it's so pulled back and you can't lose the groove.
mhm.
And yeah, Glenn is just yeah, he's pretty ridiculous. And then and then I think Jimbo is the one who actually kept it very. He played it like a John Paul Jones, very
Mhm.
much on bass. And then of course adding Clayton on keys is, to me that's a little that keeps it grounded in the like in a way like the Muscle Shoals R&B. So between
Mhm.
those,
Mhm. Oh, freezing up here. Are you there? Are you there? You there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
I'm
froze
here.
up on your end there. All right, good deal. But I'm curious, what are you learning that your demographic of your fan base is? I mean, I probably could guess, but I'd like to hear it from you. Who comes out to your shows?
It's definitely I would say the over 40 right now. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
but with that being said, when there's I guess like young guitar guys, or discovering that music for um, we seem to be gaining more and more of those the
I
more
bet.
shows we're doing. And I think they're experiencing seeing, wow, like it sounds, hopefully it doesn't come off egotistical. It's not meant to be that way. It's just more, um, sort of like when I was a kid and I got to see like my first concert, which was, I remember Triumph, and I saw the Dregs, and um, and all these like legendary bands when I was like 15, and just wow, I got to see it for the first, my open eyes. So there's a pocket of the 20s, those that are starving for that. So I know that I'm seeing more of those, what you call it, I call them kids, in the 20s. More and more are starting to come out to our shows. Um, because there's, I think that they're looking for that experience, and when they get to see it, you see it. They're just so excited. That's the best way I can say it. They're just so excited about it,
Mhm.
and it's a brand new experience. I think to really see where I feel like, I think you hit on the head. Where I do feel like, especially live, we are like a modern Zeppelin.
Mhm.
We're I feel like we're even more powerful live, the way we perform.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's what's resonating with the gaining the newer audience. Of course, the people 40 and above, and that's the wheelhouse. Aerosmith, Zeppelin, yeah. So, and I think like just probably like you and like me, we're fans of these bands, but there's really no music coming out from these bands anymore.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
why I do what I do, because I want to help be part of the group of people who helps memorialize a lot of this, plus turn on my demographic. I'm 65 or about to turn 66 this fall, but I want to turn my generation on to new artists or undiscovered artists
right.
that are taking that mantle and running with it, and so I get a big kick out of doing that. But speaking of shows, if I read your website correctly, it looks like you're going to be here in Knoxville towards the end of the month.
Yeah, we'll be there the 29th, May
Okay,
29th.
I might be able to make it. I will get with you and find out, because it's going to be at the open court, I believe. So if I
That's
can, I
correct.
will.
Mhm.
But I've got a couple other things going on. But if I can shake that loose and be back in time, I'll definitely come down
Yeah,
and
just
hit the
shoot me
show.
a call or an email, or I'm not sure if you have
Okay.
my info, but just yeah, you can just reach out to me on through Chip or myself, or we can just, or if you're
Yeah.
on Facebook, I can just send you my phone number and stuff.
Yeah, well, my email address is real simple. It's Randy, Randy, at boomerosity.com. If you shoot
Oh,
me a
there you
note,
go.
that way it keeps your email address secure. Nobody will hear it over this in case I forget to edit it out. But so
And mine is
that,
pretty much the same. Mine's just to see Mike Mostert at Hotmail. Like, okay,
okay.
very
Got it.
mysterious.
Yeah, very mysterious. So are you planning on doing an album with all the singles you're putting together? Are you
Yeah,
gonna, what's the
we are.
plan?
So the next single gets released in about 2 weeks. This is one we did with Tommy Henriksen from the
Hmm.
Vampires. That comes out, and then the full album comes out Friday the 13th, June 13th,
Hmm.
which includes Eric and Tommy. But we also have other special guests, though. So there's two tracks. There's Vinny Appice from Dio and Sabbath on it.
Hmm.
We have Perry Richardson from Striper on it as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it covers. I think the listeners will enjoy the journey. There's definitely different. You can feel the influences depending on our mood. It's sometimes a little bit more 90s, a little bit more 80s, something a little bit more bluesy. Sometimes the
Hmm.
Muscle Shoals things comes through the R&B. I wouldn't say eclectic's the right word, but it's still grounded in rock. It's always rock, but you can tell, well, yeah, I'm feeling. They've been listening to Soundgarden today. They got a little Zeppelin today. It's just in the mood of our writing, and I have to say, a lot of the initial writing, the riffs and Tony and how we write, it's our mood, and
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it's just if I'm playing a riff in the studio or at my place here. So if I play a riff, I go, oh, yeah, it's going to be in a song. I already know. And because I'm not one of those guys that I still do things in a very antiquated way. I do all my ideas on iPhone. So say if I get an idea, I just
You call that antiquated, and here I am 65 thinking that's pretty cool. So
right. So I have hundreds of ideas, but here's the sad part of it. I have all these ideas. I never go back to find them. I just it always seems like the most recent ones, and then every once in a while I'll just if I'm in my car and I already know if it's a black screen, that means it's one of my songs that I wrote. Then I listen, oh, that was a cool riff. I should have done that one. Oh, that's a cool. And I start finding these riffs, you know. But then I may remember them as for a second or third part of a newer song. Like, oh
yeah,
yeah, that riff.
yeah.
And I have to go through my own thing. I have to find it. But I got better now. What I've been doing is I put favorite on it, and then I have a folder, and I just wrote song ideas. So that's on my phone. At least now it's only narrowed down to 100 through the 20,000 files that are on my phone. Um, but that's the writing process, and then I'll send it to to Tony, and um, and then we start going back and forth from there, and I start putting ideas together. Like yeah, like yesterday. Originally I was going to do another cover with I was going to we do Mississippi Queen live, and people
Oh,
just go
wow.
people go crazy when we do that live. They just go, and they've been asking what because we have two other CDs prior, so they've been asking what CD is that song on? We're like, no, we've never recorded. So because every show everybody's asked, I was like, well, let me just go. I was in a mood to be creative. I said, I'll go do it. And I was thinking about bringing in another one of my friends, sort of like a gals in the guitar world, and we were going to do a powerhouse duet with the In Theory guys. And I started doing it, but as we were getting guitar tones, this engineer I've been working with now in Muscle Shoals, um, I know we have an unspoken language, so I'm playing. I go, I really like that riff. That's all I have to say. And then he goes, well, let's just put it down before we start something. Then we start trying to mold it for an hour or two. And I read both. So we already know what's going to happen. No Mississippi Queen. We're writing a new song. That's how it goes. So it's always. But we already know when I'm like, that would really be good for a chorus. So this will be really good. He already knows what that means in the mic language, and he saves it, put it on the side. And then as we're writing other parts, he goes, "Oh, that first part that you said would be cool. Let's hear that in context." And sure enough, almost every time it's worked. But so anyway, so we did that. Tony laid down some vocals yesterday, and then I jumped in the studio maybe at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yesterday, I came home 5 this morning
Mm.
and rearranged the whole thing from scratch. I'm 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 like the mad scientist. I see the thing in front of me, and maybe this should be the front. This should be the chorus. And I rearranged the whole thing. Um, and thank God his name is Charles Holland from East Avalon Recorders. Um, he's right there with me. I don't think there's, a lot of people would have the endurance. And again, he's my engineer. He's not part of the band, but usually, like you do your day, you do 8 hours, they go. The engineer,
Mhm.
they'll stay. Him and I have sometimes done 4 or 5 16-hour days in a row, and he's
Wow.
committed. He's just so committed to our music, and he's like me. Once we're on an idea, we just can't let it go. We have to see it through. We don't know if that idea will sound the same if we come back tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so without us really saying that, that's our mindset. If we're like, even like last night, there was a vocal part that Tony did, and the entire time I kept singing a counter vocal line, and he goes, "Yeah, Mike, you have to do the vocal thing on that." And it's a counter line. I don't know if we'll keep it or not. And that was at like 4:15 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, you're right, because I already know. Every time I hear that part, I'm going to hear that part. So let's just put it in there. Let me see if we're going to like it or not, or keep it. And yeah, so here I am now, like 13,
You
14
mentioned
hours later. You know,
running on empty, huh? And a little
I'm
bit of
definitely
caffeine.
well, the timing was right. This is the first time, like I said, I helped take care of my parents. and I've been doing the tours, and I had the studios, um, and doing the video. So I mean, I flew out to California twice to finish up the video with Tommy Henriksen. Of course, in December, I was flew up to to see Eric and do that thing, and I just been literally it's been nonstop ride since almost since March of last year when we started the because I'm balancing um, my own business, my own life, my parents,
Hmm.
the and obviously the touring, and then also all the logistics that it takes to put out a record.
Yep.
You know, so I
Man,
mean,
my
just to put
hat's
out,
off to you, man, because all I've got, I take care of my dad and I do this. And that's a load trying to, you're managing two lives, a business, and everything else thrown your way. So, man, I fully appreciate the load you're carrying. And I don't think a lot of people really get that. They hear it, they think it, oh, how nice you're taking care of your
yeah,
parents. But it's a lot of work. It is a load. You do it
yeah,
lovingly. You wouldn't have it any other way. You wish they were well, but
right,
you're honored to be able to carry that load, but it is a load. There's no denying that.
yeah.
And so
Well,
my hat's off to you on that, man.
it's definitely a an emotional, physical, and a
Mm-hmm.
financial load for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And originally they had given them several months, 3 4 months to live, and here we are. It's 20 months later, and it's an interesting thing. It's um, well, of course, I'm glad um, he's here, but the thing that is um, eats at me, or the thing that's a battle, internal battle, what is right, what is quality of life. And here's a person that he was a John Wayne guy, six big guy bodybuilder, and now he's 129 pounds soaking wet, maybe. And he really can't do anything. If he has to go to the bathroom, we take care of it. He has to eat, he has to walk, he has to no,
Mm-hmm.
he can't do anything without my sister and myself. And we do have a nurse that helps, she's filling in, and when I had to go and do certain days with the road or take care of things in Muscle Shoals or fly to California, she's filling in those days for me or for my sister. And she's, her name's Erin. She's definitely like been an angel to the family and become part of the family. And I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of the being California, being Georgia, being going tour, do the studio stuff, take care of my business if it wasn't for somebody like her. Um, because my sister and I try to I do 2 weeks, 20, in a row. She does 2 weeks and then she's filling in. Um, but this week alone is has to be the first 2 weeks. I'm actually home for the first time from March of last year.
Wow.
This is the first time, yeah. So only because I've only been back at the most 2 or 3 days. And when
Mm-hmm.
I'm back, usually 2 days, I'm in the studio. Or if I come back, boom, I'm jumping on a plane. And
Yeah.
I think I've been to Cali since September 4 times. Yeah, it's
My
just
goodness. Wow.
it just goes and goes. But anyways, so like with my father, it's like what is right at this point is this a quality of life that he wants, and
Yeah.
that's a hard thing, to do. And the other thing that we're doing is, when they did without getting too deep um, with the medical proxy, his thing is he wants to die at home and doesn't want to be in an institution.
Yeah.
So my sister and I are honoring his wishes that this is how he wants to go, so um, it's a lot. Yeah.
It
No
is.
matter how bad it gets, we can't, or I don't think we would have put him in a home, but we can't. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's a whole lot. And my mother has the same wishes, but they both have different challenges. So where
yeah.
he's deaf and dementia and can't really walk. Same thing. My mother can't really walk, but she's deaf. And
Mm.
sometimes, I had to lift him up. He can't walk, and then I hear my mother fall, and I have to go pick her up.
Oh
Um,
man.
it's just a whole lot. And like I said, and when I'm there, I live in a recliner at night, and I'm literally facing, he lives in a hospital bed in the living room.
Mm.
So,
Man,
and,
I don't have it quite that hard, but I feel for you. I've gotten the, tell you my funny story. The TV's his savior, right? Watches Westerns 24/7. One night we were on tornado watch. I'm trying to sleep over in my place. I live next door to him. I get this pounding on the door at 3:30 in the morning, and I go to the door. He's standing there. He's dripping wet in his pajamas. I said, "What's the matter, Dad? The TV won't work." So
no,
I said, I'll come right with you. Get in here and stay out, try to
right.
not get so wet, So then we ran over and I get him set up. But oh my goodness, yeah, I mean, he's going to turn 89 next month.
No, my,
And
my
so,
dad was the same thing. He's gonna be 89 as well.
wow.
Yeah.
So, well, man, I feel for you, and I don't mean that in a light way, man. I literally feel your pain on that, and it's not lost on me the load you carry on there. And
Thank you.
if you ever need to spew to anybody, I'll be that ear for you if you need it, man, because I
I
can relate.
appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
it's a you're doing noble work, and God's hand extended to your parents, and I have much more admiration for you now hearing that than I even did coming into this call. And that was a lot of admiration I had for your talent. Now I have admiration for you as a man and as a
I
son.
appreciate it. Thank you.
That is that's big, man. That's really big.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That means a lot to me. So what else is on your radar? What you got coming up? I know you're
Well,
coming to Knoxville, and hopefully I can see you then. But what you
I
got
hope
for the
so.
rest of the year?
I hope you make it to Knoxville. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised in the best ways possible. And then we're just going to keep doing. We have to see where we are in our tour schedule. And like I said, on Friday the 13th in June, the record comes out,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll take it from there. I don't know what we have planned past September, but it's really just at this point the record, and I'm continuing to just keep writing, in between. That's all at this point, which is a whole
Hey,
lot, but
when you're here in Knoxville, you may have already heard of him. I'm sure you probably have. Is a great guitar player by the name of Andy Wood. Do you know Andy?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
He's
right
he's
here
a
in
he's a
Knoxville.
monster. Yeah,
He is. I didn't hear about him until one time seeing Bonamassa. I've seen Bonamassa probably more than I have anybody else. But he had Andy come out on stage. I was like, whoa, that dude is amazing
yeah.
too.
He can play.
But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, he can. And he's friends with the people there at the open chord and all that. So maybe he can drop in on you or something.
Yeah, he's a
But
beast. I remember there was something where he just did something with Gales recently. Maybe it was
well,
a
I
month
didn't
after
catch
my
that.
session because I
Wow, I
saw.
didn't know
I'm
that.
pretty sure it was Andy. I'm pretty sure that Eric was recording something for Joe, and Andy had something to do with it. And that was the first time I saw it. Not the first time I saw him play my Les Paul, but I know since then. Um, I don't think he's endorsed by Gibson, but Gibson's been courting Eric, and he's been testing out Les Pauls since our session. And
Hmm.
but in that video, I'm pretty sure it's with Andy. Um, he's playing a Les Paul. I think it was on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's playing a Les Paul with at Andy's studio for recording with Bonamassa.
I'll be darned. I didn't see that. I'll have to look that up. Well, Mike, this is a lot of fun. Let's stay in touch. I'll drop you a note. I think you
Absolutely,
said Mike Mostert at Hotmail, right?
that's it. Like I said, the
All right,
mysterious
man.
email.
And mine's Randy at Boomerossi. So let's stay in touch. And if it looks like I can make it to the Knoxville gig, I'll shoot you a note. I'll send when I email you later today. I'll give you my phone number, and that way you can have it in your phone in
Yeah,
case I text
absolutely.
you or whatever. And if not, then definitely somewhere down the road because I want to meet up with you in person, and I want to follow you, man. This thing's gonna light up for you. I'm
Thank
convinced
you.
of it, and
Thank you, man.
I want to be part of supporting that. So,
I appreciate it. And thank
yeah.
you for your time for having me on your show.
Oh, my pleasure, man. The pleasure's all mine. Get you some rest, and I'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers with you and your parents, man. Like I said, I'm right there with you on it. So I I know what you're dealing with. So,
I
but you're
appreciate
doing
it.
good
Thank
work,
you.
my friend.
Thank you, Randy.
All right, stay in touch. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerosity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quinton Hope. Quinton is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hope. And you can find out more about Quinton at quintonhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerosity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerosity and/or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerosity.com. Copyright 2025.